hierarchy and threatens its internal stability. The crisis reportedly escalated after a reconciliation meeting convened at the instance of the president failed to produce any meaningful outcome. According to reports, dispute has been brewing for days but took a dramatic turn when two opposing camps failed to reach a compromise. The faction led by OluyELETI is said to have made a financial offer of 40 billion naira to the rival group led by Afsatu Danladi in a bid to resolve the impasse. However, the offer was rejected outright, further widening the rift and dimming hopes of a quick resolution. Reports also say that the disagreement is now threatening the party's ability to present a united front in future elections. There are growing fears that the lingering crisis could affect the APC's chances of fielding a strong presidential candidate in 2027 if not urgently addressed.
Meanwhile, prominent members of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) and today led the Save Nigerian Democracy protest to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). Several chieftains of the party, including Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, Rabiu Kwakwanso, David Mark, Rauf Aregbesola, and Aminu Tambuwal, among others, are present as the protesters march through the streets of Abuja. Hundreds of their supporters and members of the Kwakwansia movement also attended the protest. They accused the electoral umpire of working for the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) to undermine the country's democracy. Some of the protesters were spotted carrying placards bearing different inscriptions such as, quote, "Hands of our courts and judges must give justice," in court, among others.
Still on politics, the strategic identification and exploitation of an opponent's weaknesses remain key tools for gaining advantage in the high-stakes arena of politics. This dynamic, which is not peculiar to Nigeria, reflects a widely practiced global political strategy. This position was expressed by a legal practitioner and former member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Lanre Aguru, during a discussion on power play ahead of the 2027 polls on the BCOS Current Affairs Breakfast Program, AM 120. Our correspondent, Fedora Folagboye, has the report.
As the 2027 general elections draw closer, political activities are gradually gaining momentum, with key actors making strategic moves behind the scenes. Alliances are forming, loyalties are shifting, and subtle contents for influence are beginning to shape the nation's political landscape. Speaking on BCOS, a legal practitioner and former federal lawmaker, Honorable Lanre Aguru, observed the political contests in Nigeria are largely determined within party structures and conventions. He attributed this to the absence of strong ideological foundations that typically define political alignment in more established democracies. The former federal lawmaker, who is also a legal practitioner, further noted that Nigeria has struggled with ideological consistency, stressing that a lack of principled commitment among political actors continues to weaken the foundation of issue-based politics.
In Nigeria too, anybody that is in power has access to a lot of money. And money plays a very huge factor in getting people to support, in getting people mobilized. And that is why generally, I don't want to talk as a politician, I want to talk as an activist now. They will say they have pauperized the people by using money, by poverty as a means of suppression.
On electoral process, the former lawmaker, who is also a legal practitioner, acknowledged efforts by the Independent National Electoral Commission to strengthen its independence through initiatives such as voter register revalidation and consolidation. He, however, maintained that the Commission's operational independence remains limited, particularly in the conduct of elections.
As a legislator, don't expect me. I'm elected to go and do three things. That is where we got it wrong. We got it wrong in Nigeria. When you expect a legislator to bring dividend of democracy, he was never elected to do that. He guessed it right. Three things. What are those three things? I've always been propagating that. Representation. 2, oversight. The third one is lawmaking. But beyond that now, and I go there, I do not bring borehole. After 4 years, I say, oh, look, borehole, come on, komua. So everybody now goes there, struggle for what? For borehole, struggle for this, struggle for that, negating or neglecting all those three proper verses.
Honorable Larry Agoro also identified religion, ethnicity, and the North-South divide as dominant factors influencing Nigeria's political landscape. He expressed optimism that ahead of the 2027 elections, citizens would adopt a more issue-based and rational approach in making electoral decisions. Fedora Afolagui, BCOS News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it has recorded over 3.4 million completed registrations in the ongoing second phase of the Continuous Voter Registration (CVR) exercise. According to a release by the Commission today in Abuja, the figure comprises both online pre-registrations and physical walk-ins at various centers nationwide. As at 3rd of April, the data revealed that over 2 million citizens completed their pre-registration online, while over 1.3 million voters opted for physical registration. The update further showed that participation of youth between ages 18 and 34 accounted for over 2.3 million, representing 68.43% of the new registrants. The Commission, however, emphasized that registration remains suspended in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) in compliance with Section 9 and 6 of the Electoral Act 2022. Following the area council election held on 24th of February.
The Niger State government has condemned the recent bandit attacks on Arena, Bagna and Yilwa communities in Shiroro local government area, describing the incidents as senseless, barbaric and inhumane. The attacks, reportedly carried out by heavily armed bandits, resulted in loss of lives, destruction of property, and displacement of residents. It was reported that the assailants invaded the communities in large numbers, shooting sporadically and setting houses ablaze, causing panic among residents. In a statement, the Secretary to the Government of Niger State, SSG, Alhaji Abubakar Usman, expressed sorrow over the incident and extended condolences to the families of the victims and the people of Shiroro local government area. He assured residents that the state government is working closely with security agencies to intensify operations aimed at flushing out criminal elements across the state. The SSG further called on residents to remain calm and vigilant, urging them to cooperate with security agencies by providing timely and credible information to aid ongoing operations.
Operatives of the Akwa Ibom State Police Command have arrested 7 suspects after cracking down on a hideout disguised as a church in India Infia village, Ikonu local government area of the state. The command's public relations officer, DSP Timfon John, said the suspects were apprehended after operatives acting on intelligence swooped in on them. Preliminary investigation revealed that the location was being used as a cover for criminal operations, raising serious concerns about the misuse of the religious front for unlawful activities. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police, Akwa Ibom State Command, CP Babazari, has directed a comprehensive investigation into the matter and intensified efforts to apprehend the principal suspects currently at large. The command has advised members of the public to remain vigilant and continue to support the police by providing timely and credible information, while also reiterating its commitment to safeguarding lives and property across the state.
As Nigeria continues to grapple with a worsening wave of insecurity, incidents of banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, and other criminal activities persist across various regions of the country. This has prompted renewed calls on state governments to strengthen security outfits such as Amotekun Corps, vigilante groups, and other local security networks in a bid to find lasting solutions. In this report, Bimisola Adebayo examines the growing calls for self-defense and other strategic responses to a menace that is crippling the nation's economy and claiming the lives of innocent citizens. Here is our report.
From the northeast to the northwest, as well as other parts of the Middle Belt and southern Nigeria, citizens continue to face threats to lives and property, raising serious concerns about national stability and economic growth. Recent incidents in Jos and other parts of the country have revealed a disturbing rise in coordinated attacks on churches, communities, highways, and even security formations, leaving scores dead, injured, or displaced. The increasing boldness of criminal elements has further heightened fear among residents, with many urging authorities to adopt more proactive and decisive measures to restore confidence in the nation's security architecture. A security expert who spoke with BCOS News, retired Captain Oladile Olasope, describing the insecurity as largely self-inflicted, attributing it to the proliferation of arms among herders and militant groups.
This insecurity is self-caused. We cause it ourselves. Some people cause it. How can an ethnic group arm themselves, bring arms, AK-47, and they said they are using it to rear cows? An ethnic group armed, some other ethnic group, militants in Niger Delta, armed, then the Southwest unarmed. Okay, they said they formed Amotekun. Amotekun was not given the same firepower as the other people. And these people now, they now disperse them into forests all over the nation, the Southwest, the East, and all sorts of places like that. What is the idea? What are people doing in the forest? Are human beings supposed to be living in the forest? So when you see what is going on, it is a premeditated attempt for a particular heinous objective.
He noted that while self-defense may appear necessary, it is not entirely effective on an individual basis. He, however, advocated for the empowerment of Amotekun Corps with more sophisticated weapons to replace the pump-action rifles currently in use, alongside the creation of additional local security outfits to combat the threat.
There has to be vanguards, Amotekun, OPC. They need to be armed to combat them, and they need to have good communications. So wherever people see them moving, you contact our people to come and engage them.
Also speaking, former chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Oyo State, Comrade Ademola Babalola, called on President Bola Tinubu to consider declaring a state of emergency on security. He urged the federal government to intensify efforts towards restoring peace, emphasizing that the primary responsibility of any government is the protection of lives and property. He also expressed support for the proposed establishment of state police.
State police is something that all of us should embrace. And I'm happy that police hierarchy in this country, IGP, submitted a report on state policing to the federal government a few days ago. So it's a good thing that we are now moving towards that. It's long overdue. Because it's only people that are within a certain locality that can be able to ascertain and discover elements that could disrupt the peace of that setting or environment. So doing that now, giving us the state police, will ensure that people that matter, traditional rulers, community heads, with the state police officers and all other parts of government, be able to now work jointly to be able to pinpoint some flash points of some areas, some individuals, some tendencies that could, ruffle the peace of society.
As Nigerian confronts this pressing challenge, stakeholders agreed that a holistic and sustained approach is essential. Beyond military interventions, inclusive governance, economic empowerment, and social justice remain critical to achieving lasting peace and security across the nation. Bimsola Adebayo, BCOS News.
Scores of demonstrators staged a protest today at the National Assembly as lawmakers intensified deliberations on crude oil theft and pipeline security in Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta. The protesters, under the aegis of the Coalition of Civil Society for Economic Protection, marched to the legislative complex, chanting solidarity songs and waving placards bearing inscriptions such as, quote, "Say no to oil bunkering," end quote. They were, however, prevented from gaining access to the premises by security personnel, including officers of the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies. The protest comes amid heightened legislative attention on oil theft, which has long undermined Nigeria's crude oil output, depleted government revenue, and fueled insecurity in host community. As part of efforts to address the challenge, the Joint Senate and House Committees on Petroleum Resources has begun a parliamentary roundtable on the state of pipeline security and the battle against crude oil theft.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. The Central Council of Ibadan Indigene, CCII, has announced the commencement of activities for the 2026 Ibadan Cultural Festival aimed at celebrating the rich heritage, unity and enduring spirit of the Ibadan people. At a press conference in Ibadan, the council described the annual festival as a key platform for showcasing the cultural identity of the ancient city. The President General of CCII, Chief Ajeni Ajewole, noted that Ibadan has over the years remained a symbol of resilience, industry and hospitality, evolving into a vibrant metropolis with deep cultural roots. Chief Ajewole explained that activities for the 2026 edition of the festival had begun with the Ibadan conference held on the 23rd of March, which brought together stakeholders to deliberate on development and cultural preservation. He added that the festival will feature a series of cultural, social, and recreational activities culminating in a grand Thanksgiving service on the 19th of April 2026. Highlights of the festival include historical tours, charity visits to orphanages, table tennis competitions, Ayolokmo games, the launch of Ibadan Lonifuji Amala Day, award presentations, sporting events, and the Oreke Beauty Pageant.
Thunder and lightning storms on Tuesday evening damaged some equipment at Ogbomoso arm of the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, BCOS, OluyELETI FM, Gambari, forcing the first radio station in Ogbomoso to temporarily suspend transmission. The incident, which occurred as a result of torrential downpour, affected key facilities including cables, studio equipment, transmitter, and generator. PCOS correspondent in Ogbomoso, Aderemi Akom, was conducted round the affected sections of the head of channel, Mrs. Kemi Ojelade, alongside the head of engineering, Mr. Jalili Gafar, report that several critical installations were impacted. Mrs. Ojelade described the development as a temporary setback, noting that it led to the station going off air briefly. She, however, assured listeners that the engineering team is working assiduously to restore transmission as soon as possible. The station's management have appealed to its esteemed audience across its coverage areas to bear with the situation, expressing optimism that normal broadcasts will resume within the next few days.
Concerns are mounting over rising cases of domestic violence in homes, with many incidents occurring in the presence of children. Experts warn that beyond the immediate harm to victims, children who witness such violence are often left with deep emotional and psychological scars that can shape their behavior and relationships for years. Our correspondent Adeola Oladile examines the implications of this growing concern.
For children, the home is expected to be a place of safety, love, and protection. However, for some, it has become an environment marked by fear and uncertainty due to exposure to domestic violence. Experts say exposure to violence at a young age can distort a child's understanding of relationships, often normalizing aggression or silence in the face of abuse. A child and family consultant, Dr. Oluwatoyin Daniel, explained that children who witness domestic violence may develop persistent fear and emotional distress. She noted that in some cases, such children grow up perceiving violence as a normal way of resolving conflicts, either becoming victims or replicating the same patterns in adulthood. Dr. Daniel added that these experiences can negatively impact children's behavior, relationships, and overall mental well-being if not properly addressed.
A child can be withdrawn, they can be depressed, they will not even talk to you as parents at a time. You are the one. Maybe it's you and your husband that is fighting. At a point, the children, when you are fighting, they are closing their ear. They'll be like they've started again. They want to leave that home because happiness is no longer there. They are not deriving what they ought to derive in that family as at that time. So as a parent, all you can do is make sure your child is given an atmosphere of love. If there are atmosphere of love, all these gender-based violence, we can address them. We can sit down and sort out our differences as husband, as wife, or as male or female. We can sit down and talk about it. Please do not involve younger ones in your fights.
Also speaking with BCS News, the Assistant Secretary of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, Oyo State Chapter, Mrs. Bolanle Ogunwale, emphasized that domestic violence is not merely a private family matter, but a punishable offense under the law. She cited the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, noting that any person who inflicts physical injury on another is liable, upon conviction, to a term of imprisonment of up to 5 years, a fine of up to 500,000 naira, or both.
The law is there, and the most important thing is enforcing and implementing the law to protect such children. And most of the time, we need support. We need to create awareness. We need to ensure that we have enlightenment campaigns to spread out information to the vulnerables, to the people who don't know that they are protected by the law and they have rights to be protected by the law.
Mrs. Ogowale urged victims to speak up and seek help, stressing that silence often allows abuse to persist.
So when you experience it, speak up and make sure you ask for help. And peradventure somebody speaks up in respect of domestic violence, let's make sure that we have support systems in place to rescue such a woman so that that woman could stay alive, to take care of herself, to take care of our children, and also ensure that we don't multiply the case of murder and homicide within the society.
Stakeholders maintain that protecting children from exposure to violence is critical to raising emotionally stable individuals and building a safer and healthier society. Adeola Oladile, BCOS News.
On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump today warned against supplying weapons to Iran. He also threatened immediate 50% U.S. tariffs on any country that does so, adding that there will be no exclusions or exceptions. In a separate post, the U.S. president noted that his administration is talking tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. This comes several hours after he announced a temporary ceasefire with Tehran, which had agreed to temporarily reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the top stories. A fresh crisis has rocked the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) as a new faction has surfaced, deepening the party's leadership troubles and raising fresh concerns ahead of the 2027 elections.
Prominent members of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) on today led the open quote "Save Nigerian Democracy" end quote protests to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC).
The Central Council of Ibadan Indigents (CCII) has announced the commencement of activities for the 2026 Ibadan Cultural Festival aimed at celebrating the rich heritage, unity and enduring spirit of the Ibadan people.
On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump today warned against supplying weapons to Iran, threatening immediate 50% U.S. tariffs on any country that does so.
That's all from the Newscope desk for now. It was packaged by Mary Adedapo and delivered by
Barakat Adekunle
and Idowu Shekoni. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
News.
Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim taslima.
Tafsir ètò kan nílé akéde ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ Olúyọ̀lé FM 98.5.